Live. And we're here with, first of all, Dr. Maria, who had the benefit of watching the whole debate.
Mm-hmm. That was my job.
Ted and Rob and I were driving in, as you might know if you listened to the earlier show, from New Jersey. So we listened on and off to both the debate, and we listened to some of Donald Trump and Tucker Carlson, which may have had a bigger audience. Last time I checked, they were up to 78 million. Which is a ridiculous number when you consider it was on It was on Twitter.
Venue. Yeah, it was on Twitter.
On Twitter.
Wow.
Is that half the nation or something?
Yeah. No, it's about a quarter. Right?
They get a lot of people around the world on Twitter,
right?
Yeah,
that might not have. Right, that's a good point. That might not have all been U.S., but I mean, it was quite dominant. But so let's get right to it. So Dr. Maria watched the whole debate, so she's the expert. And then Andrew's coming over. He may have watched the whole debate. So I'll give my view later, but it's a truncated one. What did you think?
By the way, Maria? Andrew, I think spent the day with President Trump today, but we'll hear about that in a little bit. Yeah. So as you know, who was on the stage today, it was interesting how people were positioned. Vivek was in the middle with DeSantis. So to me, when you have that visual in the middle, it's very important. It's like where I would sit when I'm leading meetings.
You know how they do that? How they decide it? Yeah. Usually, I did 11 of those.
Yeah.
They decide it based on the polls.
That's what I thought.
So half the time I was in the middle. I was the leading candidate.
Yeah.
And they put you in the middle, and you do get the most questions.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is actually, and the questions tend to, people with lower numbers get less questions. So those were the two main candidates.
Yeah. So that was interesting. I think that the process, I didn't really like that much. It seemed like Brett Baier and Martha McCallum lost a little bit of control, and Pence seemed to dominate some of the things. And it seems like Tim Scott was forgotten out of several questions. So wasn't Burgum in Hutchinson. Nikki Haley came out strong.
Yeah.
She is very much a Ukraine supporter. The only one who raised their hand to stop financial support to Ukraine was Vivek. He was definitely the America First candidate. But he got in a tit for tat with Nikki, who said, your ignorance of foreign policy is showing.
Who said that?
Nikki Haley. Basically, I paraphrase. Yeah, to Vivek. Almost kind of all candidates
that's a legitimate view.
Kind of attacked him for not wanting to support financially Ukraine. Pence, of course, believes that once Russia takes Ukraine, he's going to roll further. He wants to reestablish
sort of
the USSR,
Cold War,
like a Cold War
theory, right?
I think the worst performance, where we didn't really learn anything new, was from Asa Hutchinson. Very, very bland. The one that stood out to me, as I said right before we went on air, was Burgum. Governor Burgum, I don't know him. Governor of North Dakota. He's a very thoughtful person, very process-oriented. So he was a surprise to me. I like that. Usual stuff. Christie attacked Trump a little bit, and then the others joined in about the budget under Trump and the deficit under Trump, how it exploded. But you have to remember.
Anybody mentioned that same thing was true of Ronald Reagan?
Nobody mentioned that, nor did they mention after the first 2 years he had a Democratic Congress.
Yeah.
So but they determined the purse strings.
You have to look at this unbelievably strong economy when you look at that. I mean,
yep.
If he had remained president, the strength of the economy would have eaten up the deficit. But that's okay. We can get into that later.
But Vivek seemed to be the breakout star. The crowd was really rambunctious. He did go after Christie for his continuing attacks on President
I thought that was
Trump.
A key moment. I thought he took him on he went after the bully.
Yeah.
He went after the bully. He laid him out, I thought.
Martha McCallum asked the most shocking question of the evening. I don't know if you got to see it.
Andrew
Giuliani is going to be coming and taking my seat in a moment. She asked the most shocking question, and that was, do you all agree that Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th? And every one of them was put on the spot, and every one of them said, Mike did the right thing. And then Vice President Pence said, you, the American people, need to know that Donald Trump asked me to suspend the Constitution by telling me to reject certain electors. And I don't remember it that way. I remember 4 states writing to Vice President Pence saying, give us 10 days, 14 days, whatever it was. We think there was fraud. We think we certified an election that is wrong. Give us a little bit more time to look at it. That's what I remember.
Well, you're
on
right,
it.
Doctor. Not only are you right, but that's an awfully arrogant statement about it's like he is the ultimate authority on the Constitution. With regard to this question of the vice president's authority during a counting of the vote, it's ambiguous. So there are any number of views that can be allowed. And we have bullies who say, well, that's the view. And if you don't subscribe to my view, I'm going to put you in jail. And he's subscribing to one view.
Right.
And Professor Eastman, who is a heck of a lot more of a constitutional scholar than Pence, who went to a law school I can't even remember, has a different view.
Yeah.
Which is that not that he can determine the vote, but that he can give a pause, a 3 or 4 day pause, so that if he's asked by a state, he can return it to the state so the state can be sure of their vote.
Seems reasonable to me.
That's another interpretation.
Yeah.
Some people would say that's right. Some people say that was wrong.
Yeah.
But now what they've done is they've criminalized that. It's like something that would happen with Stalin or Hitler. If you have that view, you go to jail. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
The one I felt a little bad for tonight, like he was almost forgotten, was Tim Scott. I didn't understand the process of the host, Martha McCallum and Brett Baer. They were very, very focused on Pence and Ramaswamy. And the others seemed to be forgotten a little bit, but Pence kept talking. And Brett Baer actually had to talk to him a few times saying, Vice President, we got to have some control here. If you got 30 seconds, it's just 30 seconds.
Also,
actually, it was a very rambunctious crowd. They cheered all of them through many comments. The one that got the biggest boos was Chris Christie when he was I forget what he was talking about that caused all those
Trump,
boos.
When he blamed Trump for Putin. That one I thought was a little crazy.
No, it was before that, but I'll remember.
Nobody pointed out the following. Putin has invaded 3 times with the last 4 presidents. Bush, the hero, Obama, and Biden. There's only one time he hasn't invaded. When the guy who says he's very smart was president. Maybe he knows something about how you negotiate, how you manipulate people, how you work. I mean, if you listen to him with Tucker, his explanation of how he handles Kim Jong-un is brilliant.
Oh, sure.
It's brilliant. I mean,
Sure.
None of them have anywhere near the ability, maybe Ramaswamy as he gets older, to manipulate people that way.
Yes, he had to say, Ramaswamy, that he was born in 1985. And I was like, oh my goodness, he could be my child.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could see that he is a little naive in foreign policy.
So who will gain out of this? What do you say?
I think definitely Ramaswamy. Surprisingly, Nikki Haley. I've been talking about Nikki Haley because she's spent the most time in New Hampshire and she doesn't seem to move the needle at all.
Yeah, isn't that
around
amazing?
4%. And she's spent a lot of time there. But tonight she really shone. She really did.
Yeah, I thought the parts that I saw, I thought she was I thought she was good. So the little bit that I saw, I thought Vivek, Christie, and Pence made an impression. I think that the rest of them, I mean, I didn't see Haley much, but I think Hutchinson is probably out. And I thought remarkably DeSantis was very, very quiet.
Yeah.
And
they didn't call on him a lot.
And then I thought
despite his position being in the middle, him and Vivek.
I thought his last statement was, I don't know who the hell made that up for him, but it was like a little biography of him.
Yeah.
And it was nothing aspirational about it.
Yeah.
I mean, the only 2 who were aspirational were Haley and Vivek. They
at the end, but you had to watch the whole thing to put it in context. When he was called upon, he really did sound secure in decisions he would make, DeSantis, to move our
He did.
country
Okay.
forward.
All right.
He really
Because the
did.
parts that I saw, he seemed very bland
Yeah.
and boring.
Now tell me about when, say, Fox News got this debate to be able to air on their show. Who pays for that? The RNC?
Well, the
Like
sponsors,
the setup or
the
Fox?
sponsors, the sponsors.
I was just trying to figure out.
No, they had sponsors.
Our other conservative channel is Newsmax. Would they have the funding to put on a show
Yes, of
like
course,
that, or
of
does
course.
the RNC put it on? So they get sponsors
Yeah,
to put it on.
Remember,
Okay.
there were a bunch of
Because this
sponsors.
is the first time I saw this in a debate. When they talked about an issue, they actually showed some graphics.
Yeah. No. I mean,
Yeah.
they had sponsors, and that's a hell. I don't know what the audience is if it's anything like the 75 million that Trump and Tucker had. You make a fortune on it.
Mm.
And you think of the money.
Mm.
Well, Andrew.
Yes,
is
I'm
here.
going to let Andrew Giuliani
Oh, well, we're
in
going to let
here.
everybody see
Yeah.
his
Well,
tan.
he's so handsome. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
How
so
about that?
handsome. We got to let him in here.
And Dr. Murray, I think that was a wonderful analysis.
Oh, my, thank you, Rob.
Yeah.
Well, this is my first time seeing you today, Dad. How did
How did
anything
go?
happen today?
Yeah.
Quiet day for you.
I escaped from prison. They made me come
Was it
in
a
here.
quiet day? Did you get a nice nap in the morning?
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of like,
really
it
nice
was like
day.
a Biden day for you,
pleasant.
right?
I got applauded by the criminals in the jail. The people in the jail were clapping for me.
Well, I'm very,
Rudy,
hey,
Rudy, Rudy.
Well,
I'm saying to myself, this is good or bad.
Well-
Most of them are probably from New York.
well, I can tell you, I had about probably 300 different people reach out to me today saying how much they love you, how much they
Well, thank
love
you.
our country, how sad they are for our country, and how proud they are of you. And
Well,
what?
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, and the most important one was Grace, because she said Papa, Papa. So Papa, she loves Papa.
Don't show her my mugshot. Don't show her Grandpa's mugshot. Jeez.
So let's get into the debate. Who were the big winners? Who were the
What do
losers
you
of the
think?
debate? Here's my scorecard on this. I agree. Vivek, I thought, was the big winner of this debate. He
Sure.
was the center of everything, of the action right there. What was interesting to me was I don't think the other candidates pressed him very well on Israel or even mentioned 9/11. It was really, really, I think, a dereliction of their duty, but I really think a lost opportunity for the other candidates to see if this 38-year-old was tested or not. The one time they brought up Israel, I thought it was probably DeSantis' weakest moment of the campaign, because he ended up going into kind of an America first answer when he probably should have followed up on that answer. I actually thought DeSantis had a decent debate. I would call it neutral. I would say my scorecard is Vivek was the biggest winner. And then right there with Vivek, probably Donald J. Trump. From what I saw from the Tucker Trump interview, it was fascinating. I think they
It was.
probably ended up doing. I'm very interested to see what the
75
results look
at
like.
least.
I would also say probably in a distant second, let's say, of who was on stage, a distant second. I thought Tim Scott. I thought
Really?
he maintained the happy warrior. I thought he really did. I thought the two that were neutral to losing, not the biggest losers, but I thought DeSantis was neutral. I thought DeSantis came out, was better than I thought he would be in the beginning, and tailed off toward the end.
Terrible ending.
He wasn't
Right.
very good in the end. And I thought the point with Ramaswamy was a great example of that. And Pence, I thought on the issues lost, but remember, Pence got more time than any other candidate, including Vivek. That is a win for a candidate in a debate.
As
Doesn't-
we know,
you
right.
don't have to like it.
That's what they want you to do. Yeah.
And then I thought the biggest losers of the evening were Christie. I thought Christie just seemed to be unlikable to everybody. I don't think he made any friends on the stage. We knew he didn't like Trump, but it turns out he doesn't like any of the Republicans. He probably shouldn't be running in a Republican primary.
Maybe you should go back to ABC.
I thought Hutchinson and Burgum, I don't think they did enough to qualify for the next debates, which means they're losers as well. And I actually, and this is where we may disagree a little bit, I thought Haley had a very weak performance. I
You
thought
did.
she had one moment, but I thought she was non-existent for the first 90 minutes of it. And as we know from a ratings perspective, my guess is this debate was a little different. Normally, you would say for the first 15, 20 minutes, the ratings are up, and then they start to go down over the course of the next
Well, that's
90
really-
minutes,
yes,
right?
the first-
That's kind of what
The
happens.
first half of the debate is
This-
5 times more than the second.
This one is probably going to be different because you had the Trump-Tucker factor. So my guess is the ratings are going to be somewhere in the middle here for that first hour. They're going to get a spike right at the beginning of the second hour for the first 15 minutes, and then they're going to tail off. I thought in that time where you might have the peak amount, I didn't see anything from Haley. I thought she closed strong, but I thought she was too weak for the first 90 minutes.
Very interesting. Well, you saw the whole thing. How about my?
Also, I think she's a very disingenuous politician, so I'm a little biased.
Okay. So what? Ted, Rob, what do you say?
As I was saying all along, I think I agree. Vivek, clear winner. And again, I'm going to preface this with the fact that we didn't catch the whole debate.
Right.
When I saw
Yeah.
Vivek,
We'll watch it
Vivek
later.
was strong, and I was dead wrong on Christie. I thought Christie was going to have a good night, and he did not.
Yeah.
I agree with Andrew. Christie, a big loser tonight.
Very big. Very big.
Vivek a winner, and then I'd be curious to hear what Rob thinks before we get to the mayor.
I'm going to have to agree with almost everybody here with regard to Vivek.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty unanimous, isn't it?
He's substantive. I think
Yeah.
I personally like the substance of what
Yeah,
he
yeah.
wants to talk about, the
Agreed.
issues.
And if you think about it too on this, and everybody who I've spoken to, even outside of this room, about 5 or 6 other people, all agree that Vivek was the winner. So it seems like we actually might have a consensus on that one. I think the two consensus, we might have little disagreements about that, but Vivek was the big winner. Christie was one of the big losers. It seems like everybody agrees there. But I think the thing that Vivek, and maybe it wasn't even that he did it for himself, the other candidates might have done it for him. He might have been able to turn the news cycle over from what was Vivek saying about Israel and 9/11 to Vivek's debate performance. And as we know, in a presidential primary, turning over bad news cycles is one of the arts of making sure you get through a presidential
But I
primary,
also think
right?
in this case, Vivek got somewhat lucky.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I agree.
No, and I am
Andrew was
shocked.
right.
I mean, Christie, the guy who
We
not,
feel
they let him get away with it.
Yeah.
They let him
I mean,
and then
Christie-
they lost their opportunity.
Yeah.
I am shocked that Christie, the guy who knocked out Rubio, didn't knock him out
Yeah.
on that. I mean, but
Yeah, that was Nikki's best moment.
yeah.
That was
But it
Nikki's
did-
best
it,
moment, but it didn't. But Vivek swatted it off nicely. It was a good engagement, you know.
Honestly, 3 or 4 of them should have gone after him.
Absolutely.
To really make
that
make
was
the point.
that was DeSantis's weakest moment of the campaign because not the campaign of this debate, because he had the opportunity to really show that he was going to stand with Israel, and instead he started talking kind of a little bit America only. Which, look, I am America first, but when it comes to Israel, that's the one place where I have a very, very,
Yeah,
very
but
big
it-
exception.
You know
It's-
who explained
it
it?
is
the
in
best?
America's best interest to make sure
That's Ronald Reagan.
it's in
Ronald
America's
Reagan
best
said
interest.
Israeli policy should not be based on partisan American politics. Like get the Jewish vote.
Mhm.
He said, "I'm not going to get the Jewish vote. I'm tied to Israel because Israel's our best friend.
Mhm.
I can rely on Israel." And he knew what Israel will do for us in comparison to other countries. I mean, it's and I thought, for example, Pence could have really pounded him on that. And when you consider the evangelical support for Israel, don't even think about the Jewish vote. The evangelical vote, which is a big part of that primary, doesn't like what Vivek said about Israel.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
Probably it really didn't make much of an impression. And you get as timing. This is the time that issue is an issue.
Mhm.
You don't make it now; it can be really hard to bring it up
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
And by then he'll have 5 explanations for it.
Mhm.
So I think this was a big lost opportunity
For the other candidates.
by the other candidates, which
I agree.
kind of shows that they're not terribly good candidates.
Mm.
How do we think DeSantis did?
Well, we haven't really been talking about DeSantis,
I-
which might tell you that he did not perform well. I kind of thought it was a little more neutral for him. I thought he started off actually pretty well and kind of tailed off throughout the debate, going to his weakest moment, which you mentioned was that engagement with Vivek, where he kind of went off kilter instead of talking about Israel. But rethinking this a little bit and hearing how we're not talking about him at all, that probably means that he lost the debate.
Particularly for a front runner.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a higher burden. They put him in the middle for a reason.
Yeah.
He was the front runner.
Yeah.
And the 2-3 people in the middle have to dominate the debate. Certainly Christie, whether he won or lost, certainly dominated the debate more than him, probably to his disadvantage. I mean, if you think about it, to me, the part that I saw, Vivek, Christie, and Pence dominated the debate. Whether it helped them or hurt them is another matter.
Mhm.
But it seemed to me that and Pence Pence was unusually rude.
Yeah.
Unusually rude.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
Disjointed.
and I don't know how
almost.
that's going to
Yeah.
play. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to play. And they may have all agreed that he did the right thing, but I don't know if the Republican audience agrees that he did the right thing.
So the question for you is, did Trump win the night, lose the night? What do you think?
Trump won the night.
I agree.
Trump won the night because if in fact we're right and Vivek won, that's the most favorable candidate to him.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's one guy there, Scott also, but if there's one guy that's been very deferential to the former president, it's been him.
Mhm.
Scott to a great extent also.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would think Trump.
Yep. Well, while the other ones were cannibalizing each other in the debate, Trump looked presidential. I think, right? And
Yes,
he's
if you listen-
always being torn apart on presidential. I think out of all of them, nobody looked more presidential than him tonight.
I have a question out of left field, and this may be a dirty question, but how many diapers, Joe, do you think Joe Biden went through during this debate? It may be dirty because I don't know if they
Tell
were
you
for
the
number
truth?
one or number two.
I don't know. I think they were in his sleep.
In his sleep, yes.
In his
Yeah, yeah,
sleep.
yeah.
I think he
I,
was,
I, I've
he
got
uses
I've
it
got
in
two.
his
I
sleep.
think he went through
sleeping.
two. I think he went
He
through
had a
two
good night.
diapers.
Catch
So
the whole
3
debate without
diapers he
sleeping.
had went
Can
through
you
two.
imagine?
He wasn't up for the whole
That's
thing.
mine.
Can you imagine?
Are there
what a-
betting odds in Vegas on that one? I'm just
Could you
curious.
imagine a 2-hour debate for
Oh,
Biden?
please. Yeah, no chance. Zero chance.
About nowadays, I think about halfway through the oxygen will be coming out.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can keep them going. So it sounds like a remarkable unanimity as far as the winner is concerned, and also unanimity on the loser.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, yeah. I mean, I think Christie really got it. Also, you know, he's
He's
not.
very unlikable.
Very
It came
unlikable.
nobody.
Yeah.
Right? That was the thing, right? It's just
Couldn't
we
imagine
we
how
knew
much-
that he didn't like Trump, but it turns out he doesn't like any other Republican. He
Right.
doesn't like anybody.
That's a great
There's
point.
nobody. I mean, come on, what are you doing running a Republican primary?
But we'll see. We'll see how this works itself out in the polls. Because I think, you know, people who really are into this politics are going to watch both ultimately. And the last time I checked on Twitter or X, they had 75 million views.
Did they really for this?
75
75 million
million
views. Well,
views.
so then Trump is the big winner
I mean, that's- I mean,
of the
I
night.
don't know.
And it's not even close. Because think about it. Fox News probably got somewhere between about 3 million views
Oh,
for
no,
this?
no more than that. I'd say probably about 10.
You think so?
Oh,
You think with Trump and Twitter? You think
No.
so?
I don't think.
Oh, well, then he killed them.
Yeah. I would guess. I would say
Now,
for
that doesn't mean they watched the whole thing,
so I would say for a normal debate.
but enough to register as view,
Yeah.
which we have. It's more than just,
But-
you know,
You would know better, but even so, let's say they got 10 million views to 75 million.
Yeah.
So you're talking a difference of close to 8 to 1.
Yeah.
Even at
and
10 million views.
And Trump was particularly good. It might get criticized. It might get criticized. Tucker did not go after him.
Tell us a little bit about what they talked about.
Oh, they talked a lot about the terrible position America is in. That we're in a crisis that neither one of them believes that we really appreciate enough. That America is in a turning point. That this may be our last chance.
Yeah.
And Trump was very, very specific about what he would do, of what he would do, how he would turn it around, what he would do. He was funny again, as usual.
Absolutely,
He had a couple of really good jokes.
We were dying in the car.
Oh, really?
Oh, he
Yeah.
was very funny, and so was Tucker. They were kidding around,
Yeah.
joking.
Yeah, that's a good combo.
It was a different kind of. It was a friendly interview.
Which is
Yeah.
nice.
It was a friendly. It was not a.
Yeah.
I don't think it was meant to be a confrontational interview. I mean, he did that with the woman whose name I can't remember, who got the biggest ratings on CNN ever, and since then they
What's her
can't get
name
more than
again?
3 people.
The
Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
CNN
yeah, yeah.
reporter,
The,
the girl.
the normal, yeah.
Oh,
Collins.
Caitlin.
Caitlin.
Collins.
I mean, I mean that one, Trump just nicely beat the hell out of her.
The guy lost his job after that.
That's right. That's right.
CNN's top, whoever brought
Forgetting
him,
their
whoever
biggest
came up with the
audience.
idea was thrown out.
I think that was their
And now-
biggest
and now-
audience.
And
It
now,
was their
and now,
best
if I'm
ratings,
not
yeah.
mistaken,
Yeah,
America's
that's-
Mayor Live is beating CNN in the primetime slot. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not even a compliment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
he said-
sorry.
he did say that. Like, he was telling me the other week. Wait, why are we comparing ourselves? Why are we comparing
Well, I must say this has been quite a day.
Quite a day.
So
Quite
we're
a
gonna
day.
call it a night, and we're gonna be back tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow on ABC at 3:00. Okay, WABC radio.com.
Okay.
This guy here, you can get him.
I'll let you close out, but before you close out, I just want to say one more thing. I'm proud of you, Dad. I think those who believe in our constitutional republic are proud of you. And there are a lot of Americans, there are a lot of people around the world that are proud of the fortitude that you have
Thank
to
you.
stand for our Constitution and for our way of life.
Well,
That is nice.
people should know that I had a lot of support. A lot of
Yeah.
support. And I do have a great,
Beautiful thing
I've
to
got
say,
these
and it's totally true.
enormously talented people that support me. And we're going to do it. We're going to turn this country around again. And Donald Trump can't do it all. We all have to do it, right? We all have to be part of this. We have to recognize what Biden has done to us, and we've got to change it, because what happened to me today, this is not rhetoric. It can happen to you, and it is happening to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the only one. I mean, there are 18 people. Some of these people I don't even know, Andrew.
Mhm.
They couldn't have done anything.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not powerful people or anything. They're just, oh well. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about this. I think that God is looking after us, and we'll be back tomorrow, 8:00 on Twitter and all the rest. And we'll be on WABC. Andrew's on every Sunday at 2 on ABC. I'm on with Dr. Maria every Sunday at 10.
2 excellent shows, by the way.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I listened to them.
Thank you.
Thank
And
God on
Rob,
a Sunday
thank
you got something
Thank you
good.
for all your help today. Ted is very lucky he got out of the crowd. You should, if anybody takes a look at what happened, you cannot believe what the press was like. I felt much more comfortable with the
You
prisoners.
showed me a picture.
I mean,
I'll put that picture up right
when
here.
I got out there in the middle of the press, I said, "Put me back in jail."
Because it's like you and the Beatles all wrapped into one. They were like, woo!
Got the
Yeah.
picture up right now. It's quite
That's what
something.
happens when you live in a communist country and the press is connected to the government. You
Yeah,
don't feel quite as
really.
comfortable with the
Well,
press.
we were in Georgia, and they had some of our press there too. They had signs. They had signs for Trump,
It's
and
some trouble. Yeah, we had our people.
there was a little bit of tension going on there. So thank you very, very much for listening in, and we'll be back tomorrow. And then, we'll actually, a lot of times these things turn out different when people mull over them. We'll see how this all works out. God bless America.